This is No Sex Saturday on the AM Update.
Well, we are back after a long hiatus. Finally, everybody is back to being 100% healthy again. I'm Aaron, she's Bella. We are back for No Sucks Saturday, bringing you 5 stories we think are inspiring, uplifting, and hopeful, and just don't suck. Bella, we are finally back after very, very many requests to come back.
Yeah, we tried. We just kept getting hit with illness after illness after illness.
Indeed. And it just made the evenings when we would typically tape this, it was just like, no, we need...
had nothing left.
We need to not be talking right now. We need to sit down. Of course, everybody who has had toddlers who have been sick, and I know that's a lot of people this year, everybody understands what we're talking about. It's just time to collapse at the end of the day if you're lucky enough to have your kids sleeping. But enough about that. It's No Sucks Saturday. We've got 5 stories for you we think objectively don't suck. They're optimistic, inspiring, and hopeful. We'll also continue our study through C.S. Lewis's little book, Mere Christianity. That's coming up in just a little bit. But first, 5 stories. We're going to begin with this. Following the California wildfire last month, a Pacific Palisades resident was anxiously awaiting an opportunity to return to his home and examine the damage after the January fire that devastated his neighborhood. Tony Nesburn's home overlooking the ocean held priceless memories of his wife, Christina Kenny, who sadly passed away a year ago. The belongings she left behind carry deep sentimental meaning for Tony, and he prayed they were saved from the fires. Soon, his whole family felt overwhelming relief when they learned that Tony and Chrissy's house was miraculously saved. Upon returning home January 24th, Tony discovered a heartfelt letter left in the mailbox by 4 heroic firefighters explaining how they saved his home. The letter said, quote, "We are so sorry for the devastation your neighborhood has sustained. It is truly heartbreaking, and we can only imagine the toll it's taken on everyone affected. When we returned a few days later, it brought us great relief to see that we were able to save your house. The house to the right of us was completely on fire, but yours was saved." What an incredible story. What's your first story, Bella?
That's really nice. My first story is actually something that happened locally here last weekend.
In Iowa.
In Iowa, yes. Yep, in the Des Moines area. So Becky Kretzinger, she was a nurse at one of the hospitals here in Des Moines, was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And as her cancer progressed, she was hospitalized and was worried she might not live to see her son, Zach, graduate from the U of I. And so some creative individuals were able to arrange a small graduation ceremony in her hospital room. So the U of I sent a representative with a cap, gown, and diploma, and then performed the ceremony for her son because her wish had been to see him graduate, and it came true just in time as she passed away the following evening. She had been a nurse at the hospital that she passed away at for 35 years.
Wow.
She was only 59 years old. Man. And I know, yeah, he will graduate officially in May, but this was a really, really special moment.
No kidding.
They were able to take some pictures with her in the hospital bed and him in his cabin gown. Wow. So, yeah, just very creative.
Yes, got to see, very creative indeed, and got to see him. Got to see him one last time, and in the way that she wanted to, seeing such a great accomplishment for her son. That's really cool. How about this one? A dyslexic Englishman who was never properly taught how to read in school has finally been able to enjoy a copy of a magazine he bought in 1985. Ted Midgley has learned how to read at 58 years old thanks to the help of a tutor who told the BBC that adults without the ability to read are actually more common in the UK than one might think. Midgley was born in Bradford, England, where he struggled in school and was dubbed lazy by the teaching staff. It was only when he arrived in middle school that someone reached out to his parents and suggested Ted might be dyslexic. Leaving middle school, he was moved to another institute for those with learning impairments, but he struggled and eventually drifted out of the education system altogether to work in a textile mill. No one reading needs to feel sorry for Midgley, as despite his inability to read, he had a rewarding career as a mechanic for the specialist motorcycles used in a unique British motorsport called Speedway, in which the riders compete on a dirt oval track with single-gear dirt bikes that have no brakes.
What?
Is that really interesting? He's gotten to travel around the world for races, and it acted as the genesis for his desire to learn how to read. And finally, at the age of 58, he was able to read finally and read that magazine he purchased back in 1985.
That's super cool.
Indeed. What's your
Very
next story?
impressive. My second story actually comes from England as well. We'll just stay in the same country, where a dad has donated a kidney to a little girl after his own daughter died following a kidney transplant.
Wow.
So Andy Emmett's daughter, Sarah, was born with a congenital nephrotic syndrome and needed a kidney transplant. A stranger donated their kidney, and Sarah lived for about a year after that transplant. And so, touched by the impact of the donation, when Andy heard about a little girl named Amber, who was 11 years old and needed a transplant, he decided to go ahead and see if he happened to be a match. And once he heard that he was, he readily agreed to go ahead with the transplant, saying that, "I donated a kidney because a kind stranger donated one to my daughter. There are so many similarities between Amber and Sarah that I just felt I had to put myself forward, and luckily I was a good match." So
That is really cool.
I know. Very, very cool.
I mean, both of your stories have something to do with death, but we're not going to talk about that right now.
There's happy.
I know, it's redemptive.
Happy death. I don't know.
Redemption. That's a good theme to hit on.
Yes.
There's finally this one. Now, this is a little bit old, but I still saved it for No Suck Saturday because I think it's really, really cool.
Is it
also,
sports related?
No, it is not.
Wow.
I'm 0 for 3 on the sports this weekend.
That's
You should be
impressive.
happy for me.
Yeah, congrats.
Or thankful or something like that.
Hallelujah. I don't know.
Now, I'm sure you probably saw this story, but man alive, I went and took a walk down memory lane after hearing this person's last name, and those were wild times. Nevertheless, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
New York Post reported that Lola Sheen, daughter of celebrities Charlie Sheen and Denise Richards, was baptized last month as a public confession of her faith in Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Charlie Sheen and Denise Richards' daughter Lola said that she was baptized in January after facing a challenging time in her life. The 19-year-old, who's the younger daughter of those two exes, told the social media followers last month that her deep depression led her to hit a rock bottom. The product of a tumultuous marriage, Lola has obviously experienced a lot in her relatively young life, eventually leading to her suffering from crippling anxiety. But she gave her life to Jesus and was baptized. And of course, from HOLLYWEIRD, that's where you really expect to find the redemptive stories of finding faith in Jesus Christ, which is why this story is so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm really thankful for that and really happy for Lola, especially given her dad, Charlie Sheen.
Yes.
Now you know the walk down memory lane I was talking about.
Exactly.
Unplug this B word. You can't handle it.
See, I'm just thinking tiger blood.
Yes, exactly. So that was a walk down memory lane.
Wow.
Hopefully this was a walk down some good and redemptive, inspiring stories for you. When we come back, we'll go through chapter 4 of C.S. Lewis's little book, Mere Christianity. That's coming up next.
No Suck Saturday. We'll be right back.
Let's sum up what we've reached so far. In the case of stones and trees and things of that sort, what we call the laws of nature may not be anything except a way of speaking. When you say that nature is governed by certain laws, this may only mean that nature does, in fact, behave in a certain way. The so-called laws may not be anything real, anything above and beyond the actual facts which we observe. But in the case of man, we say and we saw that this will not do. The law of human nature, or of right and wrong, the laws of right and wrong, must be something above and beyond the actual facts of human behavior. In this case, besides the actual facts, you have something else, a real law, which we did not invent and which we know we ought to obey. Chapter 4 of C.S. Lewis's book, it's one of his more under-the-radar publications that he did in his life called Mere Christianity, and it's the book that Bella and I are going through once more, and it's been illuminating. So what strikes me always reading C.S. Lewis is what an ornate communicator, but simple communicator he is. Do you know what I mean? In that he
uses big words, very pretty, but it's easy to understand, but like complex ideas.
I don't feel like he uses big words necessarily. He just uses beautiful but simple language.
Oh, I see. Okay,
so maybe I should have said
choice.
Beautiful instead of ornate.
Okay. I got it.
Ornate is more, it has more of a connotation of a form of design. So
Yes.
no, I'm sticking with ornate. He has a very ornate but simple way of communicating.
Yeah, it's his style.
Yes, it's his style. I like his style. Chapter 4, through their study of Mere Christianity, let's begin with this question. there are two fundamental views of the universe, the materialist and the religious. How are these two views different from one another? Again, everything I say is in my words. I'm, pulling from some sort of reserve of knowledge, but simply put, the materialist view is what atheists or Darwinianist evolutionists hold to, which is that the world is just stuff. We can break down every single phenomenon down to love and explain it away by certain strands, certain orders of atoms in different places. Mm-hmm. That is the materialist view, that there is nothing beyond matter. There's nothing beyond atoms. Now, the religious view says, no, there is something that is beyond the physical or metaphysical. There is something that is beyond us. And this is what C.S. Lewis has been talking about in this chapter and the preceding chapter, which is the law of right and wrong, the law of human nature. When we say he ought not do that or she ought not say that, what are we basing that on? By what standard would we base those types of moral values, moral judgment calls on? C.S. Lewis reckons that there is something that's above us, that's maybe written on our metaphysical hearts, our souls, that instructs us, that tells us, no, she ought not do that, or he ought not do that. How would you answer that question? There are two fundamental views of the universe, materialist and the religious. How would you describe the differences?
I would kind of the same thing as you, but I would also just add that the religious view maintains that the universe was created by a conscious being. So it's not just random Big Bang, whatever you want to, evolution, whatever. It's that there is a conscious being, in this case, obviously, our creator, who had a plan for what the universe should be, that nothing is random, that there is order and there is a plan to it. It's not just happenstance that these things came together, that we're not just floating around, and yes, we can explain everything with perfect science, but that there is someone
intelligent design.
Yes, exactly what I was just about to get at.
Yeah. So the next question is, why can't science help us decide which view, materialist or religious, we should choose? I'm going to go to the realm of philosophy to help illustrate my answer to this question. Have you ever heard of the Kalam cosmological argument?
I don't think so.
It is a truth that everything that exists has an origin. Okay. That is true. The universe began to exist. We know that's true based on every single bit of scientific evidence that the universe is indeed expanding outward and outward and outward. So the universe began to exist. Everything that begins to exist has a cause, I should say. I misstated that.
No, sure.
Everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist. Therefore, the universe has a cause. Did I say God? No. Now and of course, the Kalam cosmological argument lends itself to a creator, to intelligent design, but it doesn't go all of the way. So answering the question here, why can't science help us decide which view, materialist or religious, we should choose? Is because science itself isn't the creator. Science itself is one of the created things. It is how we help understand. It's how we understand the world around us better, with the aim of appreciating the creator. We're all born with the law of God written on our heart. The Bible says only the fool believes there is no God. To believe the materialist view is to believe there is no God, necessarily. So I think that's how I would answer that question. How would you answer that?
I would answer it from my science background, which basically is that science is about observation. So it's not going to be able to take the philosophical approach and discuss the why. It's all about observing, going through the scientific method, observing, making hypotheses, trying to prove all of that. And the other portion of that is that so basically science, if it were to be revealed in a material way, science would try and swoop in and give an explanation for it, but that's not how it works.
Yeah. Well, that's a good place, I think, to end it on this week for our study of Mere Christianity. Next week, we're going to talk about something else.
Oh, is it?
It's No Suck Saturday. Ask Izzy.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, if you want to ask a nurse who knows any question about health.
Yeah, throw it at me. I like answering all types of questions. It doesn't have to be...
And healthy living, clean living.
Yes, exactly. Anything that you guys want answered that you're tired of Googling or going on Instagram and not getting answered.
Somebody asked me the other day, hey, I know you're gluten-free. What's some advice for first-time or newly made gluten-free people? And I'm like, I don't know. It's been so long ago. Ask Izzy. So I just tagged you, and you had a great answer ready to go. If you've got any questions of like, man alive, I don't know where to begin with this, either clean living or health-related question, Ask a Nurse Who Knows. Ask Izzy is next Saturday on No Suck Saturday. AskIzzyNSS@gmail.com. When we come back, we're going to come back with our highlight of the week as well as our question of the week. That's coming up next. All right, one final segment on No Suck Saturday. I'm Aaron. She is Bella. We are going to be talking about our highlight of the week. And I'll start this week. It was really just the outpouring of just attaboys and hey, thanks. And now I'll check this out that I received this week on the 2-year anniversary of the launch of the AM update. Thank you to everybody who said something. And the post, made an analogy to buttholes, which is not... It's an analogy that no matter if you're trying to use it in a positive way, it breaks down really fast.
Yeah,
so,
but it's eye-catching, though.
Indeed, and catch eyes it did. So everybody who's new to the AM update experience, this is the Saturday edition. Yeah. We're just kicking it.
Yeah.
As much as we possibly can. So
exactly.
That was my highlight of the week, is seeing all of those reactions. So thank you. Yeah. Obviously, last Friday was my birthday, so that is the highlighter of the week. And Bella made it special by making it very laid back and low key, yes, which is just how I prefer it. So
yeah, I think you might run away if I ever threw you a surprise party.
Highlights of the week right there. Bella, what was your highlight of the week?
My highlight of the week was, well, after all of the illnesses, we kind of made a collective decision to just hang out at home, give the kids' immune systems a break. Just to be
clear, we had back-to-back illnesses with both kids and us too. And we believe that the immune system is a gift from God, even though it sucks to be sick. But it gets into not being good for us when it's back-to-back sicknesses, because little bodies need time to heal, lots of time to heal.
And that was the problem, is they would kind of get over an illness and think we were in the clear, and then we'd pick something else up. So we've been hanging out at home a lot, but now that everyone's feeling a little bit better, we got out the other day, went over to my parents and got to hang out with them. And my sister came in town, which was super fun to get to see her, just because we only have a couple months left with her here locally. Her husband is going to be starting medical residency many states away. Which when we get to that point, I will be a bit of a wreck. But for now, it's fun to get to hang out with her and see her and soak up these moments before my best friend leaves me.
Your best friend, huh?
Hey, I've known her a little bit longer than you.
Okay. We'll talk after this.
Oh, no, I'm in trouble now.
All right, what's our question of the week?
What was something you loved to do as a kid that few, if any, people knew about?
Daydream about the day I'd have a best friend, and that day came, and then it went.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Say the question again.
You weren't even listening. You just wanted to be offended. What was something you loved to do as a kid that few, if any, people knew about?
Man, that's a good question.
Okay, something popped in my head right away, if you need more time to think.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I've always loved to write. So I should start by saying I was a huge reader as a kid. I still am as an adult, but...
Yeah, you are.
Yes. But that transferred eventually into writing my own stories. So I would take notebooks and I would write novels in these notebooks, and I found them a few years later, and they were even worse than I remembered. But I would just lock myself in my room after I was done with my homework, and I would write books, and that's
awesome.
It was fun. It was cringy, but it was a good time. It was that, or doing
heroin.
No. Those are my only two options. No, I did not do drugs. It was just awkward. So it's either writing books or I would make up choreography in my room, which I think every girl does, whether or not they admit it or not. But yeah, and just dancing to a lot of Hannah Montana in my room.
You showed me some of the writing that you did later. I think it was more like in high school.
Yeah.
And it was really good.
Oh, thanks.
It was very good. So you're very smart, and that definitely translates into being a very studious, I should say, person. And you are very smart.
Well, thanks.
So just you know about.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, that's hard.
Well, or a few people.
Well, when I was 8, okay, I wanted to be a meteorologist really bad.
Here we go.
Really bad. And my mom made me pretend microphone so I could go out into the lawn and like pretend to give a weather report or like a forecast to a pretend cameraman, to a pretend TV station. And we still have some of those mementos, I think, in scrapbooks somewhere.
Yeah, you're written out weather reports.
I would write out weather reports, yes. Print them off and then read them. I'd pretend to toss them to my friends who weren't actually there. And now here's fill in the blank friend with the news. Bye. That's how I'd end each. Bye.
Sign off. Bye.
Yes, bye. That was my life when I was 8. Get up at 4:59 in the morning, watch the local news, see if there was any severe weather on the way. If there was, there'd be a pit in my stomach the rest of the day. This is my Batman origin story right there. Severe weather when I was little was my fear, and that's why meteorology intrigued me so much.
That makes sense. Well, I mean, honestly, that was good practice for your career in media and broadcasting.
Yeah, to some degree, I think so.
I mean, your sign-offs have gotten better.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to No Suck Saturday.